from the National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
Hello there, good evening and a warm welcome. This is the National News Broadcast coming to you live from the Rupavahini studios. Bringing you your stories for today is Wing Hetiarachi and I'm Shara Mascarenhas. First, it's a look at the day's headlines.
A ship carrying 100,000 metric tons of crude oil arrives in the country. Another crude oil ship expected in the country after the 23rd. The government and the government-approved schools will function as usual from tomorrow. Chinese ship Yuan Wang 5 will arrive at the Hambantota harbour on the 16th. Sri Lanka government imposes several conditions. MP Harsha De Silva says that an example will be set to the country by accepting chairmanship of the Public Finance Committee. 8 persons die in a shooting in Israel.
On to the leading story for today. Big smiles, sense of relief and no more long queues at fuel stations. However, a ship carrying 100,000 metric tons of crude oil arrived in the country last evening.
Yes, it did. And of course, the unloading process of the said crude oil is scheduled to take place after the initial testing. Now, another ship carrying 120,000 metric tons of crude oil is scheduled to reach the country between the 23rd and the 29th. Issuing of fuel according to the National Fuel Pass commenced from the 1st of the month. It has been done under 2 stages. With the introduction of the fuel quota, long queues near fuel stations have ended. The fuel quota issued according to the QR code is scheduled to be updated from midnight today. Permission has been given to register several vehicles under a business registration number according to the National Fuel Pass. Issuing a Twitter message, Minister Kanchana Wijesekara said that the government institutions, organisations and business establishments will get the opportunity to register their vehicles. Issuing fuel for farmers for agricultural activities are continuing under the supervision of Agrarian Services Department. Fuel is issued at 5 filling stations in Vavuniya district. A meeting between Minister Mahinda Amaravira and members of Radhagia and Valava farmer societies took place today. Discussions took place on the problems related to the fertilizers and fuel, and the minister said speedy steps will be taken to solve the issues. Public Utilities Commission has given permission to impose a power cut of 1 hour and 20 minutes tomorrow and on the 16th.
Now in other stories, the Ministry of Education has decided to maintain all government and government-approved schools as usual from tomorrow. Accordingly, schools will be held on 5 days from 7:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. The Minister of Education has instructed all provincial authorities to prepare an appropriate program for principals, teachers and students in schools in areas where there is transport difficulties. Appropriate relief is to be continuously provided in the school week commencing from tomorrow by principals to teachers and students affected by transport problems. The principals will be briefed on the relevant methodologies by the Provincial Directors of Education. The upcoming 3-month school term will have to be used entirely for teaching of the relevant subjects. The officials have been instructed to conduct extracurricular activities of students outside the school academic sessions. They have also been advised to restrict the conducting of ceremonies as much as possible. Conducting of schools was limited for 3 days due to fuel shortage and public holiday on Fridays. However, some schools were held for 4 or 5 days. It has been decided to conduct schools in all 5 days of the week since the public transport service is becoming normal and the ability to get fuel according to the QR code. Minister Susir Premajanta said that measures are being taken to provide transport facilities through SLTB and private buses if there are transport difficulties in some areas. Filling stations are being marked to issue fuel through the Petroleum Corporation apart from SLTB depots. This process will be reviewed weekly. Steps will be taken to maintain academic activities without the August vacation. GC advanced level results will be released before the end of the month. 80% attendance will not be considered this year for the GC Advanced level. Additional sessions will be provided to the students who are sitting for the exam. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs says that Yongwang 5 ship is scheduled to arrive at the Hambantota harbour on the 16th of this month.
The ship is scheduled to arrive and be anchored on the Hambantota Forum on the 16th and the 22nd for replenishments. The Chinese scientific research ship Yongwang 5 is expected to arrive on the country, and Sri Lankan government requested the Embassy of China in Colombo to postpone the date of arrival through a diplomatic note. The government has informed the Chinese embassy on the 13th for clearance purposes. Its statement issued by the Foreign Affairs Ministry has said the Defence Ministry emphasised that there should be no scientific research in Sri Lanka's seas, a condition that has been announced operating automatic detection system in the Special Economic Zone of Sri Lanka. The state approval has been given after receiving security clearance on the 7th of July from the Defence Ministry for replenishment during the scheduled time frame and getting a letter of no objections from Sri Lanka Telecommunication Regulatory Commission under non-interference and using frequency and communication equipment under security basis. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has exchanged views with the Defence Ministry, Sri Lankan Navy and Sri Lanka Telecommunication Regulation Authority according to the accepted norms about the request for the diplomatic clearance. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has emphasised the cooperation and friendship of all countries. Security cooperation of the neighbouring areas are a strong factor. Sri Lanka hopes to protect legal requirements of all countries according to the international bindings. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has immensely appreciated the cooperation and understanding of all countries at the present moment, where many local processes are taking place while facing severe economic challenges to ensure the welfare of the country.
Deputy Regional Director for Asia and the Pacific of the United Nations Development Programme, Christophe Bahoud, called on the Minister Ali Sabri recently. The UNDP Deputy Regional Director for Asia and the Pacific is currently on an official visit to Sri Lanka. The meeting was held last Friday. Minister Ali Sabri appreciated the consistent support extended by the UNDP to Sri Lanka for over 5 decades and in particular during difficult times. Sri Lanka is keen to continue its close cooperation with the UNDP. Deputy Regional Director Bahoud affirmed the continued support and cooperation of the UNDP to Sri Lanka, particularly in the priority areas identified and recovery measures being taken by the government to overcome the current challenges. The Foreign Minister and the Deputy Regional Director also discussed ways to enhance cooperation between UNDP and the government of Sri Lanka to support social protection measures for the vulnerable communities and to ensure sustainable recovery from the current challenges. Pakistan celebrates the country's Diamond Jubilee today.
The High Commission of Pakistan and the Pakistani community in Sri Lanka celebrated the Diamond Jubilee of independence of Pakistan with traditional fervour. The Pakistan Independence Day commemorates the day when Pakistan achieved independence and was declared a sovereign state following the end of the British rule in 1947. High Commissioner of Pakistan in Sri Lanka, retired Major General Umar Farooq Bukhari, hosted the national flag of Pakistan to the tune of the national anthem in a vibrant and colourful ceremony at the Pakistan High Commission in Colombo. On Sri Lanka-Pakistan relations, the High Commissioner said Pakistan attaches a great importance to relations with Sri Lanka based on mutual respect, understanding and close cooperation. The event was attended by a large number of participants, including members of the Pakistani community, officials and families of the High Commission, Sri Lankan politicians, dignitaries, journalists and friends of Pakistan.
Welcome to everyone. I will stage and read the message of the Prime Minister.
Now, in other stories, opposition leader Sajid Premadasa says that the present opposition is working not for portfolios and privileges, but for the welfare of the public. He mentioned this during a meeting with activists at Homagama seat. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa said that according to information, 30 cabinet ministers and 30 state ministers are to be appointed, but can the country withstand it? Dr. Harsha De Silva is the chairman of the Finance Committee and he will contribute to build the country without burdening the people. Today's opposition is not working to get ministerial portfolios. Those who wanted to leave the opposition has left.
හැබැයි ඉතින් එතුමා සභාපති වුණා කියන්නේ අර වැරදි මාවතේ මේ රට ගෙනියන නිලධාරීන්ට හිසරදයක් වෙයි. ඒක ගැන අපි සතුටුයි. විපක්ෂයේ අද කටයුතු කරන්නේ ඇමති සංගීත පුරුදු.
MP Dr. Harsha De Silva says that he will accept the chairmanship of the Public Finance Committee and act giving an example to the country. He mentioned this during a media briefing at the opposition leader's office today. MP Dr. Harsha De Silva said that they agree with the economic program presented by the President Ranil Wickremesinghe. He said that they are happy to give the chairmanship of the Public Finance Committee to a member of the opposition for the first time. Programs can be implemented through Finance Committee while holding discussions with political groups. It is not compulsory to become a minister to perform tasks.
MP Partali Champika Ranavaga says that he is prepared to accept any responsibility under an all-party program. He mentioned this to the media after meeting at Nagola in Matale. MP Partali Champika Ranavaga said that there should be unity of parties represented in Parliament. A proposal has been made to present a budget after establishing a national council consisting of leaders of the political parties and after holding discussions on economic and political reforms. It has been proposed to amend regulations to use parliamentarians who are not holding any portfolios in the parliamentary committee system to direct the cabinet. We have to implement programs by appointing board of directors for state institutions with recognized professional qualifications.
National Freedom Front MP Mohammed Musamil says that the government should be immediately call an all-party summit. MP Mohammed Musamil said that the government is postponing the proposals and does not announce about any agreements. The National Freedom Front has presented 12 proposals for an all-party program and 10 proposals for a minimum program. It is necessary to select the proposals and contribute those programs to build the country. An all-party government should be formed and implemented. Still, an all-party summit has not been called. The members of the Vavuniya Urban Council and Kalthara Urban Council have appreciated converting those into municipal councils.
The approval was granted to upgrade the urban councils into municipal councils during the cabinet meeting last week. Minister Bandula Gunawardena said that the cabinet approval was granted to convert urban councils, namely Kalutara, Vavuniya, Puttalam, Trincomalee, Manna, Ampara and Kegol into municipal councils. Accordingly, he said that 10 cities in 25 administrative districts in the country will receive the status of municipal councils or urban councils. Accordingly, he said that the President has informed to provide recommendations to prepare urban councils, municipal councils and Pradesh Sabha considering the changes occurred in the Western Province. Kalutara Urban Council was established in the year 1923. The first chairman of the council was Arthur Diabru. It includes 16 Grama Seva divisions. Mayor of the Kalutara Urban Council, Amir Nazi, said that the council marks 100 years next year. Many tasks can be performed after the urban council is converted into a municipal council. People can be provided with more infrastructure facilities. Deputy Mayor S. Kumaraswamy said that the requests were made for a long time to convert Vavuniya Urban Council into a municipal council.
Leader of the Elam People's Democratic Party, Minister Douglas Andayavananda, has thanked the President Ranil Wickremesinghe for lifting the ban imposed by Sri Lankan government on several Tamil diaspora groups. Issuing a media statement, the minister has pointed out that the diaspora groups should honestly use it, considering the decision to lift the ban is a positive signal for coexistence. The minister has pointed out the Elam's People's Democratic Party earlier presented a document containing 10 demands, and one of them was lifting the ban on Tamil diaspora groups. The minister has emphasized those organizations should come forward, considering it is a good opportunity to strengthen the economic situation of Sri Lankan people.
MP Namal Rajapaksa has requested the police to conduct an investigation and implement law against the news published damaging the reputation of the athlete Netmi Ahimsa, harming his image. He said that he rejects the news published on the newspaper. MP Namal Rajapaksa, in his police complaint, has requested to implement the law by conducting investigating on the persons who were engaged in mudslinging. Asian elephants are different from African elephants. Sri Lanka's elephants belong to the Asian generation. However, there are instances that the behavior of local elephants is different from other wild elephants in the Indian subcontinent.
A considerable number of wild elephants die annually following accidents due to human activities. Humans should give the freedom to animals to live freely to maintain environmental stability. 3 wild elephants, including a tusker, have died of electrocution in Ihalagama, Mihintale. Their carcasses were found this afternoon after receiving information from the people in the area. Wildlife officials and police are conducting investigations into the incident. Among the dead wild elephants are a tusker and a female calf elephant of about 5 years. The deceased tusker and other wild elephants are about 15 years old. The tusker and the elephant were found near a paddy field which is being harvested. People in the area said the calf elephant was found in an abandoned Chena cultivation. Wildlife officials said they suspect electrocution as a reason for the deaths. However, an owner of a house close by to the place where the elephant died has been arrested on suspicion. The wildlife officials seized electrical wires and several poles used for wiring. The suspect is to be produced at Anuradhapura Magistrate Court.
We now bring you more local news in brief. The intercity train between Colombo and Badulla Alla Odyssey commenced yesterday from the Fort Railway Station with the participation of Minister Bandula Gunawardena. Earlier, the train was operated between Kandy and Alla railway stations. Seats can be reserved by paying in advance, and the train has first, second and third class compartments. Polonnaruwa Municipal Council has launched a Helakala village at Athulmalpitiya in Polonnaruwa. 25 million rupees will be spent on the project with the aim of earning foreign exchange by attracting tourists. A Russian tourist couple was seen removing waste on the Bentora beach. Bentora beach is considered one of the most beautiful coasts in the country. Grateful to good tourists. And now we're moving on to foreign news.
Sima Kotomi Pantan.
Now on to foreign news. In Israel, at least 8 people have been injured after a gunman opened fire on a bus near the Western Wall in Jerusalem's Old City. 2 people, including a pregnant woman, are in a critical condition. The suspect opened fire as pilgrims were returning from prayers in the holy site. Israeli authorities indicated that the gunman fled the scene following the incident and turned himself in afterwards. The Western Wall is one of the holiest sites in Judaism. Thousands travel to pray there every year. Israeli emergency services said the gunman targeted a car park near in the Western Wall. The gunman is said to be a Palestinian resident of East Jerusalem. The attack comes weeks after 47 people were killed in the Gaza Strip over 3 days as Israel forces targeted the leaders of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad and militants fired more than 1,000 rockets into Israel.
The United Nations say at least 77 Yemenis have been killed by heavy rains and flooding in the war-torn country. In a statement, the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs said that 35,000 families were affected by heavy rains and flooding between July 28th and August 10th. The extreme weather was affected by 16 provinces in Yemen and expected to continue until August 20th, as per the United Nations. Yemen lacks proper infrastructure due to ongoing civil war over the past 8 years, which decreased the vital services provided to Yemenis and increased their suffering in times of extreme weather.
Saudi oil giant Aramco has broken its own record of $48.4 billion profit for the second quarter of 2022. Russia's invasion of Ukraine saw oil and gas prices skyrocket. It is 90% year-on-year increase and marks the biggest earning for the world's largest energy exporter since its public listing 3 years ago. Russia is one of the world's biggest exporters, but Western nations have played to curb their dependence on the country for their energy needs. According to Bloomberg, the Saudi country's oil giant figures represent the biggest quarterly adjusted for profit of any listed company. As well as the record profits, the state-owned Saudi energy giant announced it would keep its dividends unchanged at $18.8 billion for the third quarter. The company said it would keep expanding to satisfy demand. The world's biggest oil producers, including ExxonMobil, Chevron and BP, have all posted huge earnings for this year, leading to a growing calls on governments to impose windfall tax amid an alarming rise in living costs.
On to more light news now. A giant panda named Yong Yong gave birth to twin cubs at a breeding base in northwestern China's Shanxi province recently. The male cubs weigh 150.4 grams and 134.5 grams respectively when they were born at the Qingling Giant Panda Research Center. This is the second birth for Yong Yong, who was also born at the center on August 10, 2014. Yong Yong gave birth to her first cub on August 17, 2020, becoming the youngest panda mother at the center. The Qingling Giant Panda is subspecies of giant panda first recognized in 2005, and Shanxi began artificially raising Qingling giant pandas in 1980s and has established a mature artificial breeding technology system. So far, a total of 34 giant panda cubs have been bred in the province.
Southwest China's Yunnan province has built a complete monitoring and early warning system to ensure the safety of both humans and Asian elephants. The system helps enhance human-elephant harmony as the elephant population in the region continues to increase. In many places across the Yunnan, multiple measures including monitoring teams, infrared cameras, drones, mobile applications and social media have been adopted by authorities to avoid conflicts between people and elephants. In addition, facilities such as anti-elephant lights, watchtowers and hiding shelters have been set up in the region to reduce losses and minimize conflict. Asian elephants, the continent's largest and land animal, are under top-level protection in China and continues an important part of the Yunnan rainforest ecosystem. According to the Yunnan Provincial Forestry and Grassland Bureau, the number of Asian elephants in the province increased from 293 in 2018 to about 360 by 2021.
On to sports news tonight, we're going to start off with the sports minister Roshan Ranasinghe visiting the home of Nettime Ahimsa, the bronze medalist for wrestling at the Commonwealth Games 2022.
The minister also visited the training centre maintained by her trainer Suranga Kumara. Minister Ran Singh said that the facilities are in need of restoration and will be provided through the Sports Fund. The minister made personal financial donations to Netmiha Insa, her coach Suranga Kumara and 2 other sportswomen. Chairman of the Wrestling Federation, Saratheva Vitarna, and said that the equipment needed by the training centre would be provided through the federation.
Now on to a little bit of cricket. Sri Lanka Under-19 cricket pool for the England tour has been named. The 3 one-day internationals and 2 four-day matches are scheduled to be played between 2 countries.
Now on, the college cricketer Ravin De Silva is also the captain of the Sri Lanka Under-19 team. The 18-member Sri Lanka team left the country this morning.
That's it. That's a look for Rupavahini News for tonight. Together with Uin and the rest of the Rupavahini team, we'd like to wish you a brilliant week. See you soon.
ඉතින් මහත්තයෝ මොනවද අලුත් තොරතුරු එන?
දැන් ආපහු රට පුරාම ඩෙන්ගු අවදානම තියෙනවනේ. මදුරුවන්ට බිත්තර දාන්න පුළුවන් වෙන විදියට වතුර එකතු වෙන තැන් පරිසරයට නිතර එකතු වීම තමයි මේකට තියෙන ලොකුම ගැටලුව. තමුන්ගේ දරුවෝ ගැන හිතලා